Mentioned this a little earlier as far as working, and this is a show that's near and dear to my wife and I's heart. We still watch the reruns all the time. Is Golden Girls? What was that experience like working on that show, and and working with such a legendary cast?
Oh, they're my favorite. That
Mhm,
I would still put the Golden Girls to this day in my life as my number one favorite show that I got to be on because
mhm,
those actresses, wow. I mean, come on. In my scenes with B. Arthur, I was sitting on a bed and I was sleeping in B's room on the show. And
mhm.
so she's chatting with me on the bed in the scene, and I'm looking at her, and all I kept thinking was, and then there's Maud. Then there's
You're
Maud.
right.
Like it's in your head.
Right.
It's like from my childhood. And so that was really funny. And then Betty White. Okay, here's my story about and I wrote this in a book, by the way. The book hasn't come out, but there's this Golden Girls book that this girl wrote, and I wrote the foreword for the book about the
Mhm,
Golden Girls, and I included the story in it. But Betty, my very first day, I just to preface the background, I was an apartment manager. When I was
mhm,
on Growing Pains, I was an apartment manager and I left Growing Pains, and Golden Girls was my like one of my first shows back after doing Growing Pains.
mhm,
And I was still an apartment manager and I managed mostly apartments with elderly women. It was almost the whole building was full of older women. And one of the ladies had a fall that morning, and she managed to get to the phone to call me for help. And she lived next door, so I went over. She was bleeding pretty bad. I got her up. I could get her up, got her in my car. I had to take her to the hospital. And her blood was all over me. She just had a bad gash, and she was
mhm,
okay, but I was covered in her blood because I was helping lift her and get her out. And got her to the hospital early, early in the morning. And she was fine, just to give everybody
mhm,
in case they were asking and wondering.
mhm,
And then I looked at myself, I'm like, I had to be on set on Golden Girls. My first day.
mhm.
I zipped back to my place, changed out of that, put on a clean shirt, and then tried to get to the studio as fast as I could. And I'm late.
Mhm.
And I walk in, and it's my first day. And on the first day of any sitcom, they sit around a long table. Everybody's sitting around it, all the producers, all the writers, the cast, and they do a read through
Mhm.
in case the writers want to go back and rework something. Maybe they think it's not working. And before you block it out on a stage, you have to do a read through.
Mhm.
So I'm late, and I I'm running across a parking lot, which is like a football field worth, and
Mhm.
I'm running, get in there, I'm sweating, and I'm getting there, and I'm like, hi, and everybody, it was so quiet, you could have heard a pin drop. They all turned and looked at me, standing there, all of them, and I was
Mhm.
like, oh my god, am I gonna get fired? I haven't even started,
Mhm.
and they were so quiet, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm late. And I didn't even get the chance to explain why, because I had a legit reason
Yeah,
why.
right.
And and I was carrying a real life Golden Girl to the hospital. But
Mhm.
no, I didn't even, I just said, I'm so sorry I'm late. Pin drop, pin drop, pin drop, nothing, just quiet. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Betty White says, why, Mary, you're pregnant. So of course you're late. And everybody in the whole room busted up laughing. And it was like I just got anointed by the comedy queen and
Mhm.
saved. She saved me by making a joke of it. And
Mhm.
nobody ever said anything to me after that. Not, why were you late? Nobody
Yeah.
even asked. And so, and then somebody waved me over, and I sat down in a chair, and then they patted me on the back, like, yeah, you just got saved. It was just like, I thought, what a cool woman. They didn't even ask, like, I
Mhm.
was like, so I felt like I got anointed by some comedy goddess.